Alright, so let's get on with the overview. And the first thing in my collection is always the James Bond collection. And I keep everything James Bond related in the same area, including these two films right here. The original Casino Royale. This was actually more of a parody, a comedy as you will, with Peter Sellers. Not the greatest film, but I had to complete the James Bond collection, even though it isn't official canon. And then, of course, we have Never Say Never Again with Sean Connery as James Bond. But this was a remake of Thunderball, an unofficial remake. I won't get into any details. You can check that up on the internet. And this was actually a custom cover. I didn't like the original cover that came with it. This is now at a print, so if you want to get it as a Region 1 release, you might have a difficult time finding it. So that's it for the unofficial James Bond collection. And as far as I'm aware, it's the only two. I think there was like a short, like a TV episode or something with James Bond in it, but I don't think it's available on Blu-Ray or DVD. Then, of course, we'll start with the official James Bond movies. Dr. No, a classic. From Russia with Love, another classic. My favorite of the Sean Connery era, Goldfinger. Might even be one of my favorite James Bond films of all time. Thunderball, which was the original that the Never Say Never Again film was a remake of. And then finally, You Only Live Twice. So, of course, Goldfinger would be the number one in those five films. But I tend to enjoy all of Sean Connery's films, so he was definitely the one that created the James Bond character. I mean, like, portrayed it on screen first, and I think for a lot of people, he is the original. That when you think of James Bond, you think of him. And the next five will be the first film that didn't have Sean Connery in the James Bond role, which was On Her Majesty's Secret Service with George Lazenby. Great film, actually, and I kind of like George Lazenby as the lead character. Then, for whatever reason, this apparently didn't do all that well, so they wanted to bring Sean Connery back for ratings, and they did so in Diamonds Are Forever. Never liked that one too much, but it was his last film in the official canon of James Bond movies. Then, the first Roger Moore film, Live and Let Die. The Man with the Golden Gun, which I thought was horrible when I was younger, but having watched it again on Blu-ray, I don't mind it. I mean, it's kind of slow-paced. Maybe that's why, as a young person, I didn't like it too much. But not too bad. Not everyone's favorite by any means, though. The Spy Who Loved Me, like that one. I thought it was pretty good. I'm not a huge fan of Roger Moore as James Bond. I always considered him Grandpa Bond, maybe because he was a bit older when he took over the role. And I always preferred pretty much everyone ahead of him. So yeah, so we'll go with some more here. Moonraker. I think it's pretty safe to say it's probably one of the worst James Bond movies, and it's definitely on the top of worst lists for many people. Some people might even put Die Another Day, the Pierce Brosnan film, on there, but we'll get to that when we get to it. For Your Eyes Only, I didn't mind this one. I actually quite liked it. Another one that is kind of polarizing is Octopussy. I didn't mind it. It wasn't the greatest film by any means, but it was a decent James Bond film. A View to a Kill, which was Roger Moore's last film as James Bond. And it has Christopher Walken as the villain, and he does a really good job in that film. Apart from that, I wasn't a big fan of the movie. Could have been better. Then we have a new era of James Bond. Has a lot of similarities with the current Daniel Craig James Bonds and the more serious tone of film, and that is The Living Daylights. And then, of course, with Timothy Dalton, and then we have License to Kill, which was his last film as James Bond. So that's it for that. Oh, we're not done yet. Oh no, there's quite a lot of James Bond to go. Alright, so when it comes to Timothy Dalton, there was a bit of hiatus between making the third film, and due to the long time between films, he backed out and Pierce Brosnan came in. His first film as James Bond was, I think, a lot of people's favorites. GoldenEye, especially people who grew up with the N64 and the game that was on there. Not only was it a really good film, it also made a very good video game by Rare, and I quite like this. This is actually the film that made me love James Bond. I actually fell in love with James Bond through the game. Watched the film on Christmas Day. I believe it was like Boxing Day or Christmas Day on TV. Then I was a James Bond fan ever since. Another one I quite like, some people have varying opinions on, is Tomorrow Never Dies. I like the whole, what's this guy's name? Jonathan Pryce, that's the guy. He plays this like media tycoon, and what he does is he actually creates disasters, and he basically creates his own news. And I quite like that aspect of that film. Another one, kind of a mixed opinion on it, is The World Is Not Enough. Basically it has I think the reason why people don't like it that much was that it has Denise Richards as a rocket scientist, which, yeah, I think it's a bit far-fetched. And then another one a lot of people don't like is Die Another Day. A lot of CG was used in this one compared to a lot of the other ones where it was basically model work, and it definitely shows. With that being said, I didn't mind this one as much. So it was, funny enough, it was actually one of the first DVDs I bought. So, a little trivia for you. I didn't mind this one as much. I wouldn't say it's the worst film. That definitely has to go to Moonraker. But, yeah, a lot of varying opinions on that one. I enjoyed it. I think it's still entertaining to watch. Actually, all these are still entertaining to watch. Even Moonraker, as horrible as it is. Of course, you know, now that we're going through James Bond here, we can't forget the Daniel Craig films. We have Casino Royale. This is actually the DVD collector's set. What I did is I simply took out the DVD, placed it away somewhere, and then bought the Blu-ray edition and popped it inside. The next, Quantum of Solace, another one that's not liked by a lot of people. But the thing is, I watch these usually back to back. I consider them as one film. And if you look at it from that point of view, I think it's halfway decent. And then the newest one, Skyfall. Outstanding film. And hopefully they continue going in that direction with the new one. And I actually heard that apparently Christopher Nolan is in talks for the newest one. If that's the case, then yeah, I think we're in good hands. So that's it for James Bond. Now let's get into the other films here. Quite a bit of James Bond. If you're wondering why I didn't buy the set, it was simply because I decided to hold off on it, thinking that it is James Bond to be available for quite some time. Turned out it got sold out quickly and out of print, and I missed it, so I had to buy them individually, which kind of sucked, but it was fun tracking them down. So okay, so first film that's not a James Bond film is 21 Jump Street. Jonah Hill, one of the funniest people in recent memory. Quite like that, and even Channing Tatum is pretty funny in this. Definitely a big surprise though. Then we have one of my first horror films in the collection, 28 Days Later, and then 28 Weeks Later, which is the sequel. And then we also have two vampire films, 30 Days a Night, and then this god-awful sequel, 30 Days a Night, Dark Skies, or Dark Days. And so again, pretty good surprising comedy. 28 Days Later, one of my favorite, I don't want to say zombie film because a lot of people get all upset if I say that, so infected film I think is the best way to describe that. Great. Even 28 Weeks Later I quite liked, thought it was a good sequel. Not a huge vampire fan, but 30 Days of Night with Josh Hartnett, amazing film. I was actually quite surprised. My friend made me sit through it because I wasn't a huge vampire fan, and I quite enjoyed that one. And then horrible sequel to this one, so just get this one. But I mean, if you pick it up cheap, if you want to be a completist like me, Yeah, so I suppose you can pick it up. And yeah, that's it for that. Okay. Alright. So now we'll go with another, let's see here, another 5. It seems I can fit, I can always fit the 5 on the shelf, so I'll keep doing that if I can. So I think this might be the first, and it looks like it might be, the first of the Blu-rays I got through the Rogers sale, and this is 30 minutes or less. Never actually seen it, so I can't give you an honest opinion on it. 300, love that film. Again, it's one of those films where I didn't expect to like. I'm not a huge, medieval sword and sandals kind of moviegoer. I don't really like those type of films that much, but I am a huge fan of Zack Snyder, the director, and great film. Very stylized. One of my first steelbooks, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Very strange film, but it's actually quite well made, and I did enjoy it. It's not everyone's cup of tea by any means, though. I believe it's also a Canadian exclusive steelbook, so for people who are collecting steelbooks, it's a good one to kind of seek out. 2012 Roland Emmerich film, typical Roland Emmerich film. Has a great sequence in LA, but apart from that, I would say probably give it a pass. Not as good as The Day After Tomorrow. And then we have, I think it's my first Christmas film that we'll see, Jim Carrey's A Christmas Carol. Very well made adaptation of the novel. And there's been so many Christmas Carol like films, and I think they did a very well made. They did a very good job on that. I quite liked it. So it's another 5 down, but we have some more. And coincidentally enough, we have another Christmas classic in A Christmas Story with Ralphie. I quite love this. It's one of those films every year, along with National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which I also do have. I'll show that later. Or I watch it every year. The whole story is just amazing, and I think everyone can relate to it. And even though it's based in, I think it's the 50s or 60s, even someone my age, growing up in the 80s, we still have that. We still understand, what the kid was going through. When you always want that certain something for Christmas, when you finally get it, Then, not so much a Christmas film at all. A Nightmare on Elm Street, by far one of my favorite horror films, or horror franchises. Grew up loving Freddy Krueger. It's one of those films, my parents are very good at parenting. They wouldn't let me watch a lot of adult-oriented stuff, but for whatever reason, they thought it was a good idea to let me watch Nightmare on Elm Street, and thank you, because I absolutely love this film, and this is the box set, of course, the collection, and a great film. Of course, as with all great franchises, they have to eventually start doing remakes, and we have A Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake. And what's the dude's name in this one? I'm horrible with names today. Jackie Earl Haley. I thought he actually played a very good Freddy Krueger. I liked a lot of aspects of it. I didn't like the overabundance of CG in it, especially the whole wall scene. If you're at all familiar with Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm sure you already know what I'm talking about. But apart from that, I thought it was a decent film, and I would like to see more of it. I don't know if they're necessarily going to bother. Then we have the the monster mashup of Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, Freddy vs. Jason. I actually liked this film. I thought it was very well made, and taking two, for the most part, unrelated franchise and putting them together, they actually did a decent enough job doing so, and I thought that was actually a fairly decent film. Of course, decent in the sense that, it's films made for Nightmare and Friday fans. Then we also have Friday the 13th, the remake, Killer Cut Edition. I thought that was a really good remake, and if I had to choose between Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, the remakes, This one by far. As you can tell, I don't have Friday the 13th on Blu-ray yet. Biggest reason I'm kind of waiting for them to release a box set. And apparently, Warner Brothers now has the rights to release that. They bought them from Paramount, so hopefully that will happen at some point in the near future. I'm hearing October, so hopefully that actually comes to fruition. Alright, so we got that out of the way. Of course, I am having to reach over here. We have another movie I haven't watched yet. I got it for $5. Adventureland. Heard good things about this one, and I thought for $5, why not? Another classic is Adventures in Babysitting. Unfortunately, I don't think it has a lot of extras. No, it has none. But anyway, I don't think there's anybody growing up watching this that didn't pray to God to have Elizabeth Shue as their babysitter. She looks pretty good in that film. Then Age of Heroes, never watched it. I am a World War II buff, and I will get to watching that at some point. I heard it wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything special at all. Then another one I just recently picked up, saw for extremely cheap for a Disney movie. I saw it for $20. And of course, I am in Canada, so what sounds cheap to me may not be cheap to you Americans, but it is what it is. Alice in Wonderland, not the god-awful reimagining by Tim Burton, but the actual good one by the animated one by Disney. And haven't watched it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Then we have, I suppose I can bring all these out here. I don't know if I get them all on the one shelf. I don't think I will, but whatever. We have Prometheus. Now you're probably wondering why Prometheus, starting with P, and as you can probably tell by now, with the exception of the James Bond collection, they're all in alphabetical order. And you're wondering why Prometheus is not. That's because it's right beside Alien. See, Prometheus was actually a loose prequel to the Alien series, so I put it first because I do consider it Alien canon. And then, of course, we have the Alien quadrilogy. And then, although a lot of people are going to hate me for putting this anywhere near it, but I'm going to anyway. Alien vs. Predator. Alien vs. Predator 2. And since I'm also, kind of keeping rough things together, I'm also going to put Predator, Predators, and Predator 2 and Predators together. Basically, I keep everything, Alien and Alien vs. Predator and Predators. I do that with a few different ones, as you can see with the Nightmare on Elm Street and Jason films. Since there was a mishmash film, I keep them all together. Who knows, maybe as the collection gets bigger I might actually switch it up, but for the time being I think I'll keep it that way. Alright, so that's a lot of films I have to put back. Okay. Alright, so the next one on the list... Oh, there's some good ones here. Here, I'm going to take this one too. Okay, so we have another really good film done by a pre-Dark Knight Christian Bale, and that is American Psycho. Great film, hilarious film. As far as the Blu-ray is concerned, the picture quality is not that great at all, but still have to have it in my collection. Now, another film that just recently came out, haven't actually seen it yet, and it is a steelbook edition of Argo, Ben Affleck's second, I believe it's his second directed film. Another film I haven't seen that we'll watch probably around Christmas time is Arthur Christmas. Got this at Videotron, which is basically Quebec's, Blockbuster. And we'll take a look at it probably around Christmas time. And then we also have Austin Powers. What can you say about Mike Myers? In that he's hilarious. And then we have James Cameron's Avatar, the collector's edition. This is not the 3D collector's edition that's out now. This is just the regular 2D. And not a huge Avatar fan, but I gotta admit the extra features on this is outstanding. I just love how they make. I love how people make movies, and this is one of those ones you have to have if you're at all into movies like I am. Not a very not a film that I really have to go see, or not a film I go watch a lot, but I like it for the extras. It is definitely a well-made film.